true your freedom.
Well, everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, the Monday through Friday afternoon show. You can be here live if you're on the preparedmind.club. Little premium button there, $2 a month, or subscribestar.com, $2 a month. And I invite everybody to go to X, where you can sign up as a member for free. In any event, folks, I want you to take a wild guess. All right, here's the headline. Race car driver dies after mid-race heart attack. Okay, what's the cause of death, folks? Well, he was 53 years old, but he's a race car driver. He's probably what we would call a super athlete, able to hang on to a steering wheel, stomp the pedal through the floor, avoid getting in a wreck, using full-on mental capacity the whole way, racing his ass off, but has a heart attack, a sudden heart attack, and he died. The question is why is it that everyone dies of heart attacks now? People used to live. People always lived. They just were like, I had a heart attack. Every now and then you would hear someone go, hey, that guy had a massive coronary. His heart was in terrible condition, right? And that's like the 500-pound dude that got off the couch to go take a piss and, his heart couldn't take it. But, I want to thank Darcy T for that, making sure we don't forget that Dr. Grouchy is out there with his Jim Jones juice. And get your comments and questions down below, because I'm going to do my monologue. Then it's your turn at the inner circle. So good for you, it's mandatory. Hey, everyone, guess what? One of our favorite witches is back, Hillary Clinton, and she is peeved, mad, steaming because Trump deployed National Guard in Washington, D.C. What does she care? She doesn't work for the government anymore. She doesn't have security clearance anymore. But Hillary is also asking for contributions for her legal defense. She hasn't been arrested. She doesn't know if Trump will actually arrest her and charge her via the Attorney General's office. I don't think he will. But for some reason, she's scared, even though she's not employed in D.C., has no security clearances. She's hated by everyone in D.C. No one cares what she says. And she's on the outside now. And she doesn't know what is really happening. Folks, we should all be very scared, because she is scared and evil. And also very dangerous indeed. Just ask the hundreds of people that she's known that have committed suicide. Oh, yeah, you bet, folks. This is America, though, and we should be a strong country, a moral country, a good country, a robust, productive, profitable, good country. We should be, but we're not. Right? It's because of all the evil and stupid out there. Hillary is just part of the problem. But the problem is more than just Washington, D.C. It's people in general. Right? This story popped up today, and I caught it, and I thought, well, we kind of need to run over this a little bit. There's a children's game that's super popular. It's called Roblox, Roblox. I've never heard it before. I don't play it. Have no idea. I learned it's a game that like 60 million kids love to play every day. It's a lot of kids. And apparently child groomers, predators, pedophiles, and minor attracted person pedophiles. They like to go on there and try catching children. So there's a there's a gamer out there, young guy. He was groomed himself and is very upset about it. I don't know to what extent that grooming went, but he has been catching these child groomers and turning them over to the FBI. So now Roblox has banned him for exposing child predators on the platform, the gaming platform. They say, the Roblox people, that this kid who is catching and referring filthy, perverted pedophiles, he's referring to them to the FBI. They say that's made it unsafe on their game, unsafe. Well, there's only one group of people that I think it's unsafe for, and that's pedophiles. You would almost think that the Roblox people are part of the pedophile crowd. You could almost think that Roblox made a game knowing children would be on it so that they could be at the front of the line for grooming children. That's kind of what it feels like. Kind of like Washington, D.C. and state congressional houses everywhere. They all have an opportunity to fix everything, yet they don't. In fact, in California, what do? Oh, they lower the age for sexual consent. They say, well, having a child and using them, for sex is just a misdemeanor, right? If you want to traffic your own child, if you want to pimp them out, in other words. I still don't like this word trafficking. It's just doesn't fit. Anyways, in Washington, D.C., if you're a pedophile there, you just have to contribute a little bit of money to the political leadership, and they won't arrest anybody. So this kid who catches pedophiles and turns them over says that other children thank him for what he's doing because they're grateful that they're not being sexually stalked and groomed by freaks as they get pulled out of there. Right. And I, just thinking about this, you would have thought pedophilia being bad is one thing we can all get behind. But government says drag show story hour is good. Clinton, billionaires, bankers, take a flight on the Lolita Express. Muslim rapists in Europe are defended by the government and not punished for it. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris funneled in and lost 300,000 children to sex traffickers. And Democrats in schools love to push discussion of sex with their students. These are some sick fuckers, very sick fuckers. But this is the world we live in. It's the world we live in. Big news today, folks. Big SHTF news today. President Trump has ordered the military to go after drug cartels in Mexico and says the flow of illegal drugs and gangs is going to stop now. Now, here's the deal, folks. The military protecting America on our own continent even. Anytime we go to war as a nation, it's always about we're going to send Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force overseas to another country to protect an American ideal, to liberate a certain people or protect another type, to stop a tragedy. Right? We have a new idea. How about protecting America and Americans on our own continent from people here? Right? That's a new idea. Helping our own people, Americans. What a novel concept. Right? Maybe reading the Constitution and arresting pedophiles and traitors is next. Well, don't get your hopes up. But yeah, right, sending the military after drug cartels. They're practically a military now. Is everyone aware of that? Because Biden started a war a shooting war over in Ukraine against Russia and has been supplying them with weapons of war that we're not allowed to have, right? Yeah. And those weapons were sold to weapons traffickers. I'm going to start a new term here. And then those got sold into the drug cartels in Mexico. So the drug cartels in Mexico have surface-to-air missiles, rocket launchers, guns, ammo, machine guns, explosive. Yeah, they're practically a military. We need in America, on our continent, our people protected, our children, our country, our states. They need to stop drugs. They need to stop the pedophilia, the trafficking. There's so much to do, folks. It has hit the fan. And you know who's against this? Everyone in Washington, D.C. What a shocker. Now, there are some people who will get behind Trump on this because they don't like drug dealers, etc. But most of them, nope. If anything's going to interfere with their ability to get their hands on children, it seems like it always goes back to that. Drag queen story hour, right? Communist teachers in school. Unbelievable. But I'm all for it. If we're going to have our military do anything, it should be to clean up our own country at the borders and put these people out of business, right? Our liberty, our lives, our freedom, our prosperity, our rule of law need to be defended for once. And Trump has a long way to go to get there. A long way to go. What do we got there? Okay. By the way, yeah, everyone, make sure you get your questions into Mr. Uman. He's going to be assembling them in the second half of the hour. We're going to talk about it. Trump is also working on redistricting. He's working on having the census retaken so that only Americans will be counted. That will take just an incredible number of unlawful people off of the voter rolls. So California and other states with huge amounts of illegals, they're going to lose congressional seats. That's great because people like me, you, and others, I think we should be properly represented. Right? But they're also pushing for redistricting. And Gavin Newsom of California, that's right, folks, the loser of a Democrat governor, Gavin Gruesome Newsom, has issued a warning to Trump. He's trying to literally, through X, cut a deal with Trump. Look, if you stop doing that and stop trying, then we'll all stop too. Absolutely ridiculous. He's gonna warn Trump that midterm redistricting threatens our democracy. I love how they love to throw in the word democracy. What's the word that we substitute for it? Oh yeah, bureaucracy. Yeah, getting rid of illegals off the voter rolls threatens the bureaucracy. Because the more Republican, pro-America, America first, patriotic Americans we can get into D.C., the better off we're all going to be in the long term. Now, what's this is what New Scum wrote. I'm going to give you a quote. You're going to dig this. If you will not stand down, California will be forced to lead an effort to redraw our maps to offset the rigging of maps in red states. In the other states call off their redistricting efforts, we will do the same. So California is now going to threaten to redraw their maps. California is already an incredible shithole. Barely any Republican representation. Understand this, though. What they don't like, the Democrats, is that Republicans are trying to do what they do. And it's not illegal, folks. It is not illegal to redraw the borders or shapes of the congressional districts. because if it's not illegal, then Democrats, you can bet your ass, already gerrymander their political lines to their benefit. And folks, get this. It is 2025. Back in 1987, while taking a class called Government Civics in high school, I learned all about gerrymandering, changing the lines to try and get more of a political party power. New scum is they're taking advantage of people. Most Americans no longer know how many states there are. They can't name the capital. They can't name the state capitals. They can't name anything. They don't know anything. So it's easy for a scumbag and liar like Gavin Newsome to gaslight, lie, fool, trick, deceive Americans with his crap. There's no, you can't do anything until we have a complete reset. There's no fixing this. Literally, there's no fixing this. These people are complete jackasses. And it's not going to stop them. Nothing is going to stop them. And the political right, folks, they're just about as fucking stupid. Do nada, Janine Judge Pirot hit the microphone today with Trump standing behind her, talking about Washington, D.C.'s young punks and all of the crime policies which are soft on criminals. She says it's time to, quote, go after the D.C. Council and their absurd laws. Well, I got to tell you, Judge Janine isn't a legislature. She can't change the laws. She can't do anything about a city council. All she can do is wait for criminals to come to her court. But if she wants to get tough on soft crime policies, how about one of the softest crime policies I've ever heard in Washington, D.C.? That is called the Jeffrey Epstein, you're a pedophile, we don't care, soft on crime list. My Baku man? Okay. Right. If it's time to go after the DC Council and young punks, shouldn't it also be time the federal government go after child raping, child killing, adrenochrome harvesting scum right there in DC? You see, it's obvious. It's easy to understand. It's easy to look at the hypocrisy in there. They want us to be stupid. I don't see red and blue. I see our country getting screwed over by both parties, and I'm tired of it. I'm disgusted with it. They finally went over the edge. You know, it was the same-sex marriage, and then, well, now you have to let us into the schools. You have to let us be teachers. You have to let us to adopt. You have to let us talk to your children. You have to let us talk your children into getting transgender surgeries. You have to, well, we're going to talk your kids out of you. They're going to hate you because you send them to college. You pay for the college, and they turn around and turn your own kids against you. That's what this whole fucking game is. It's disgusting. All of it. And they want to stand up and talk about, you know, these young punks. We know there's young punks. We know all about it. Young punks. How about the old punks in the banks stealing your money, folks? Your retirement. How about all the young punk and old punk politicians taking our tax money, sending it overseas, and then, well, waiting for it to come back in the form of a political contribution? All right, enough of that shit. Let's leave the country. And, well, that whole President Maduro thing in Venezuela. Trump quit, didn't he? Because Maduro used a very effective tool. They said, hey, Nicolas Maduro wants to recognize Palestine as a state, then we're going to put out a $50 million bounty if someone wants to arrest him. And so Nicolas Maduro says, well, I offer a $50 million bounty for the unedited Epstein client list. And the U.S. government has been silent ever since. They're criminal, folks. Communists like, well, Maduro is evil. Mexico's shiny bum, that president, is evil. I don't like her. In fact, now Mexico's president is defending Venezuela's Maduro against, charges of terrorism and drug trafficking coming from, Washington, D.C. Now, he is a communist, Maduro, which aligns him with mass murderers throughout history. And isn't it funny how Mexico's president, Shine My Bum, she is quick to run to defend communism and communist scum. She's quick to run to defend her drug cartels. What kind of country does that? What kind of country's House of Representatives, instead of voting on outing child predators, child rapists, decide to take a 6-week unannounced vacation and fuck everyone? Which country's worse, folks? Mexico? Venezuela? The United States? Canada? How about them? Yeah, you're no longer allowed to walk into a forest in Canada because walking in forests causes forest fires. No, actually, it's the government employees that started forest fires in Canada. That's right. Arsonists who work for the Canadian government set those fires. So the people who pay taxes can no longer use national forests. You're not allowed. It's not just the U.S. government that's off its fucking rocker, folks. And it's not just Latin American nations like Mexico and Venezuela. It's not just Australia and New Zealand because they're down under, right? Standing upside down all day. I guess that blood rushes to their heads. Remember, you couldn't have you couldn't transport a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken in New Zealand during COVID lockdown. In Australia, you couldn't come outside your house and go more than, 5 miles? These countries have all lost their fucking minds, and it's not going to get better, by the way. It just isn't. It just isn't. It's not going to get better. And here's an example. See, I love to give examples so that people don't think I'm just putting my politics out there. I want to give an example so you understand the level of shit hitting the fan that we're in. Why you should be prepared with all the items you need to be prepared. Right? So that when you talk to other people, you can give them examples. Hey, things are pretty screwed up. Like this, there's a mom's organization. Conservative Moms Org is called a hate group. Moms that want to protect their children are being called a hate group in police training. That's right. In Massachusetts, a training facility has asserted that the moms group called Moms for Liberty, they're a hate group. Now, what do they want? Are they molesting children like Washington, D.C. bureaucrats and politicians and bankers and financiers in New York? No. See, they're a nationwide conservative parental rights coalition. They want everyone else to leave their kids alone. Isn't that interesting? Yep, in Massachusetts, Moms for Liberty is a hate group because they want to protect their children. Isn't it funny? I mean, didn't that little bastard Merrick Garland, that little twinkle toes slimy cocksucker, that little bastard, didn't he say that parents are domestic terrorists because they wanted to stop their schools from pushing homosexual and LGBTQIA pedophilia books on children? Yeah, Antifa, BLM, pro-Palestinian violent protesters are just fine. But those mothers worried about their children, they need to be shot. Right, Democrat cops? This is where we're at, folks. This is where they want to take us. It is not a pretty scene. Oh, man. Where now? Where now? This is a good one. Trump is set to meet with Putin in Alaska in a few days. Friday. Putin and Trump are talking about how to achieve peace, to put an end to the special military operation, to put an end to the conflict, the killing, and Zelensky ethnically cleansing his country of as many Ukrainian men as he can. What an odd thing to do, huh? In any event, folks, globalists are panicking. The World Economic Forum is panicking. The Luciferian Bilderbergers are panicking. And already European leaders are trying to get a hold of Trump, meet with Trump, talk with Trump before he gets to meet with Putin. I mean, what do they think? Look, all of America is yelling at Trump, release the fucking Epstein client list. And he won't. He won't. Don't think I won't forget about that, folks. Because I'm never going to forget about that. The same way I don't forget about Fauci or Hillary or Bill or any of these scumbags. Anyways, I guess that they're worried that this meeting between Putin and Trump is going to actually result in a peace agreement. And it's going to threaten and sabotage European politicians' ability to keep the money laundering machine going. Because that's really what I think all of this is about. Yes, they want to defeat Russia. Yes, they want to put a NATO base in Ukraine. Yes, they like the idea of war because they're morons. But yes, they want to be rewarded personally for doing it. They want their war, and it's being taken from them. Unbelievable. Folks, we need actual things to happen, not promises, not empty thoughts. I started to read this and I thought, that's really good. And then, oh, man. So, Vice President J.D. Vance, he did an interview, I think, with Jim Hoff of the Gateway Pundit. And he said, here's a quote from him. There are active investigations. You won't be aware of it until we announce the conclusion of the investigation. That's what the vice president said in an interview with Gateway Pundit. Look, investigations for Washington, D.C. power brokers are bullshit, and Vance knows it. I don't want investigations. I don't want secret investigations. I don't want to hear it and the announcement after an investigation is concluded. You think they're really going to come out and say, we finished our investigation of AOC spending millions of taxpayer dollars, right? Unlawfully. Well, we've decided to let her go, right? Do we need to hear, because that's what the conclusion is of every investigation. We caught him doing this, this, and that, but we're going to let him go. We want arrests. We want trials for all the deep state scum in Washington, D.C., for all the Epstein clients. Right? Not cockamamie plastic banana inquiries and investigations and announcements. J.D. Vance better learn fucking quick, Marine, that we don't want bullshit and promises. You don't stand in a fucking fighting hole yelling threats at the enemy. You kill the enemy. You go after them. You get the bad guys. One of these days, maybe they'll fucking learn. One of these days. I've got nothing but criticism for all of them, folks. Shit has hit the fan, and everyone is hurting. All of us. Let's do this, folks. Let's get this show kicked off. It is time for your questions and comments. All right, we're in the zone. We're in the inner circle. Your thoughts, your questions, your comments, observations. That's what we're doing next, right here. Mr. Uman, where shall we go? We're going to go with Mikey G, P2X. You're starting to sound like a robot there. Hey, GP2X, what do you think? Beep, 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 beep. Anyway, he said, Merrick Garland supported the gay books in schools. And here's why. Because his son-in-law sold those books. His son-in-law had a publishing company or worked for a publishing company. And yeah, he wanted all of those homosexual, transgender, cross-dressing, drag queen, anal sex, how to be groomed by an adult fruitcake, all those books they were making and selling to schools. Now, I seem to remember that schools don't have a whole lot of money. Do you guys remember that shit? Schools are always broke. Teachers never get paid enough. But they have money to go out and buy all of this sexually explicit, perverted crap to stuff in front of children's faces? Oh, you bet. Of course they do. That makes the most sense, doesn't it? Merrick Garland was the Attorney General under Biden. He is a slime bag, folks. When it happens, when it goes down, when the fun starts, a lot of you think there's going to be a good time. People like Merrick Garland, Democrats everywhere, are going to be running and hiding their faces because everybody knows who they are and what they look like. I guess a lot of people know what I look like and who I am. Well, I guess we'll find out. But Merrick Garland, yeah, they supported all that shit. They hide behind the mantle of legitimacy by being a government official. But what have they officially shown us? That they officially don't care. That they're officially a bunch of fucking criminals. And it needs to end. Anyways, thank you, Mikey G, for that. Appreciate it very, very much. And it's Monday. It's August the 11th. The world is fucking gone insane. Fortunately, nuclear weapons aren't dropping. But I was informed today that a large celestial object called Apophis is coming for us. It's an earth killer. It's a civilization killer. You know, it's it's an extinction level event sized asteroid. What is it? 10 kilometers or 10 miles across? Miles. Yeah. It's big. If it, they're trying to scare us. I've been reading about Apophis. Graham Hancock wrote a book about Mars being destroyed by meteor showers. Anyways, we've been talking about it for 20 years. Apophis. It's a near-Earth asteroid, folks. And one of these days, it just might run into us. Well, I thought they said Earth is 3.5 billion years old. And it's managed to miss us for 3.5 billion years. I think we're good. But, and this is a big but, and I know some of you like big butts. Anyways, there's still that alien spaceship out there somewhere that's doing 130,000 miles per hour flying through space, defying scientific understanding, and it could be the aliens coming to get us. There's always a distraction, folks. Always. Are you prepared for the distractions? You need to be prepared for the distractions because they're going to keep trying. But one of the things we're always taught, keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye on the ball. All right, Mr. Uman, who do we want to pick next? And it's people have numbers now. We got Diving Frog 1205 checking in. And he says, I saw a segment today that California is trying to pass AB 459. That's Assembly Bill 459. It states that basically anyone can sign a paper citing claims against you so they can seize your children. This is so wrong on so many levels. It is mind-boggling. Where's the due process? It's kind of like a red flag law. That person's scary and has a gun, I bet, and I'm complaining. Right? Someone wants to complain about me. Let's say I lived in California and had young children. They want to file a complaint against me, citing I'm bad, I'm this, I'm that. Where's the court hearing? Where's the evidence? Who's paying for the prosecution? Sounds like it's a civil matter, but no, it's some kind of quasi-government thing. I don't believe for a second that this is bullshit. You don't know why? Because California, the assembly, they did, folks, make selling your child for sex, pimping out your own child, a misdemeanor versus a felony that you should be killed for. But now someone can sign a affidavit claiming that you're a bad person so that they can come and take your children from you. I see this being abused by more than just ex-spouses trying to steal their children from their ex. I see this as more of a tool, more than just a tool that a grandparent could use to snatch a child or grandchild from their children, or a sibling. Which is just, it's so typical now of government that someone feels a certain way, so therefore they now are imbued with special powers, privileges, and rights. It's disgusting. We live in bizarro world now. I'm waiting to wake up. Maybe in a couple of more days, I'll wake up into a truly bizarre world that makes absolutely no sense. But it would be really cool to wake up in the world where every other garage has a fully outfitted killdozer in it. Now, that would be one hell of a planet where government officials live in fear of the killdozer. That, to me, would be a place where, yeah, everyone behaves well. Kind of like if everyone had a tank. If everyone had a tank with an operable turret and gun and ammunition, right? More, artillery rounds. I think everyone would behave very well, don't you? Because all it would take is one idiot getting out of line. The rest would put them down, right? That's the concept and idea, by the way, behind the Second Amendment. Is to protect ourselves from each other, from a foreign invading enemy, a domestic invading enemy, or our own government. Because that's what governments do, right? Anyways, I went from children over to the Second Amendment. That's how I roll, damn it. All right, Mr. Uman, shall we? We got some great topics here, folks. I love it. Uman says, anyone think things are going to get hot in D.C. tonight? I don't know if this is what Uman's referring to, but I thought, okay, we've got a bunch of kids running around. We've got a bunch of young people, and they're 14, 15, 16, 17, and the courts just won't hold them accountable. The police won't arrest them. They won't be prosecuted. The courts don't give them a harsh sentence. So the kids are out of hand. We really need the military to deal with kids? Perhaps we do. Perhaps we do, but do you think that there's an alternative reality operating right now? I don't know if Uman is referring to this, but I'll go there. This is I'm going to go to the QAnon page. Uh-oh, I think Uman just fell over. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be Q. Let's just say Trump has decided it's time to arrest some big shots in Washington, D.C. Not all of them. Maybe he just needs to arrest Barack, James Comey, Hillary Clinton. Maybe he needs to arrest Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Ilhan Omar, who is apparently married to and having sex with her brother, who's her husband. Ew. Now, anyways, let's just say he's like, these are the biggest criminals here, and we're going to arrest them for treason, and other serious felony crimes. If he arrests them, what would be the first thing that happens, folks? If any one of these people are arrested, Obama, Hillary, Susan Rice, James Comey, John Brennan, right, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, if any of those people were arrested, there would be the next day a series of violent protests breaking out. Would there not? Am I correct, man? You figure? Right? Like Hakeem Jeffries at Dollar Store, Hakeem Jeffries, Dollar Store Obama, discount Obama, Hakeem Jeffries, was threatening the country as well as President Trump. Don't you dare arrest any of us. Don't you cross that line. It's like, who the fuck are you, you moron? You should get Rabbi Shmuley to ride around on his back wearing a clown suit some more. I don't know if any of you are aware of that. Okay, but staying on target. Back and focusing. If someone gets arrested, they would want to protest. If the National Guard is in place, those protests won't go very far. I think Trump said if you antagonize police, they are going to be authorized to punch back. So spitting on police, doing anything violent and aggressive towards police in protest is now going to result in an ass beating and an arrest. I think that I should have the same authority. If someone threatens me or gets violent with me or spits on me, I should be able to put my hands on them and give them some corrective understandings. But yeah, things could get crazy in DC. I've said that the military needs to make the arrests. I have said the military needs to arraign them and hold them for trial in a military tribunal with a military judge, a military prosecutor, and accuse them of their crimes and allow them to defend themselves, of course. They can be held in a military detention facility the same way free Americans from the free 50 states were arrested, if not in Washington, D.C., in their homes and drugged to Washington, D.C., and thrown in the basement of the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department, where toilets overflow and it's filthy and there's disgusting bugs, right? Everything. If Americans can be treated to that, then the criminals of D.C. who are going to be accused or should be accused of treason in all manner of felony, they can be held in a military prison. And perhaps that's what this is about. Is that kind of what you were thinking, man, or?
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of there were a lot of the officials in D.C. saying that they will resist and everybody needs to come out and resist. So I'm thinking, all the detards in the city may be doing some big protests and setting things on fire again, mostly peacefully, though.
Well, no one who is a protected class of people has been assaulted, have they? Any rainbow flag groups or no?
No, I mean, your whole theory with the QAnon thing about, getting ready to get everybody rounded up and arrested. Well, that's great, except for they're not in session for another couple of weeks, right?
They're all hiding in Israel.
Yeah, right. Israel and in Illinois.
Yep, in Illinois. Very true. Yeah, my thing is all they need to do is arrest one to set this in motion. I mean, if they arrested Hillary or Obama or Nancy, everyone else would know that they're now fair game. And how many of them would flee the country or never come back?
Well, they got dual citizenship. They could just stay in Israel where they're at, all 52 of them or whatever that number was.
Yep. If they know that they're, if that's what they're being arrested for. If they're being arrested for treason, I don't think the pedophiles are going to worry too much. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I haven't heard QAnon talking about that. That was my own little thoughts from John's noggin here.
That was your Aranon sense.
Yeah. But, he's got a lot of military there now, and it seems like overkill to me, but perhaps
Hey,
it's necessary.
Mike Johnson and Toon are in town, right? Good start there.
It's a good place to start. Mike Johnson, Maggot Mike.
Yeah.
To me, he looks like a fucking creep.
Yeah, there's talk about him being on a list there too. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. He just looks like a slime bag. I never liked him, and when they started by calling him MAGA Mike Johnson, I'm like, yeah, he's a Make America Great Again guy. Where they come up with this shit?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's like professional wrestling is more believable than the bullshit and stunts that go on in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely.
Wow. We got more stuff, more topics out there?
We got more stuff. I'll put them up.
All right. Let's roll with it. Okay, we got Heidi. And she says, Judge Janine says laws need to be changed to protect juveniles. I agree, says Heidi. Well, here's the deal, right? It used to be that minors, people below the age 18, could not be tried as legal adults because they weren't legal adults. But now, you couldn't vote before 18 either because you're not legally an adult. But a lot of people, including, I think, Bernie Sanders and Tampon Tim Walz and other left-wing flakes, they want children to be able to vote earlier, age 16, 15, 14. What they're doing is they're declaring them adults. Now, with the nature of video games, Grand Theft Auto and other violent games out there that children are exposed to and allowed to play by, their parents. I shot fake Martians and had a yellow guy eat white pellets. Those were the games I played. But yeah, now you can run a brothel and sell drugs and kill cops in a video game. That's cool. In any event, these kids know what death is. They know what they're doing. It's not an accident. And it doesn't come from incompetence. So, yeah, I think some crimes need to be looked at. And they also need to look at, again, why did they create when you're 18, we'll clear your record, we'll expunge it, and, that way you don't carry anything into your life. Any childhood crimes like, jaywalking, riding your bicycle down the street the wrong way, or stealing a six-pack of your dad's beer and drinking it in the forest with your friends and you got caught, right? There's, I noticed man didn't wave me off. It's like, no, don't go there. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, these kids, they're committing adult crimes, right? Normally you don't think of children as murderers because why would they? But these days, and for many decades, children have been literally murdering others, intentionally killing them to take their life. Kids did not used to have that attitude. They might beat up another kid, get in fights, etc., but they didn't go around seeking to murder someone. But if there's one thing I've noticed in the violent videos of these youths, is now when they punch someone and they knock them to the ground, they don't stop. They kick them in the stomach, they kick them in the head, they kick them in the face, repeatedly kick them, and then stomp with the heel, stomp the head against the ground as if to crush the skull, causes brain damage. This is not fighting. There's a difference between fighting and going to that extreme. When you go to that extreme, that's attempted murder. That is literally mayhem. These kids need to be tried for that because they're not just fighting. They're not just screwing around. I have no qualms. Treat them as adults. Treat them as adults. There's no excuse. No longer. I'm done with it. All right. Great topic. Great topic. Mr. Uman, who's next? We've got Redneck Roughneck checking in. He says, what do you think about Tim Burchett outright saying Congress is compromised to keep the Epstein files hidden by the intelligence agencies? I agree with Mr. Tim 100%. They are fully compromised, because if they weren't, if Congress was not compromised, do you think that the men and women in the House of Representatives and the Senate, do you think they like knowing children are being hurt? Well, they could, I guess. For any of them, wouldn't they like to stand up and take a stand against Trump? Instead, they're all on the same side as Trump, aren't they? Yes, they are. They're all on the same side as Trump now. They're all hiding from the Epstein files. They are fully compromised. The intelligence agency knows it. Not a bot. H. Lynn says, we will not get files there, just a distraction. A way to lose support for Trump. They will ricochet on to Republicans. Republicans are calling for the Epstein files. The Democrats were silent for a long time. Then the Democrats started calling for it. Right? And I know I'm right. We wanted the Epstein files released first. The Democrats were silent. We're like, why aren't they attacking Trump over this? They're siding with Trump. But then out on the street Democrats. But in Washington, D.C., Republicans and Democrats do not support arresting child rapists and pedophiles. Now, I'm with you. I don't think we're actually going to get the files. The files are not a distraction. The files are where we should be focusing on law and order and justice for these children, for future children, for the victims, the past victims. They should all have justice. You see, that's why governments are instituted amongst us. It's to protect the men, the women, and the children from the lawless, criminals, the powerful. That was the whole point of government. Not to regulate us and tell us what to do and take our taxes and make us beg for it back in the form of some kind of a benefit. That is not what government's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about protecting our rights, our lives, our wealth, our nation. That's it. That's it. The Republicans are having all kinds of shit, by the way, ricocheting all over them. Because if you cannot stand for what's right, there's no way you can take a stand. None of these people are going to stand and take a stand. There's two people, right? Representative Thomas Massey and Representative Marge Taylor Greene, Big Marge. They did not take a dime from the America-Israeli Political Action Committee. They haven't taken a dime. Right? They are not compromised. Because if they were, AIPAC, Mossad would go after them and release all the dirt they have on them. You know they would. If they had any, they'd do it. So I guess out of 424, I think that's how many House of Representatives we have. I got you, man. You know, we've got 100 senators, a vice president, a president, a Supreme Court, an entire administration, all of the staff in Washington. They're all a bunch of pedophile hiders. Can you imagine if the staff, let's just say Adam Schiff, who has a rather odd past where he seemed to have a 10-year-old black boy as a buddy he hung around with and took to a hotel, and that buddy died, right? If his staff had guts, decency, a sense of right and wrong, they would know a lot of what he does, and they would turn him in. And the police, the FBI, the district attorney would arrest him and charge him with crimes. But the entire fucking lot of them are scum. And this is what we're all learning. We are all seeing this now. All of us are seeing all of them and what they are. Whether you're an independent, a Democrat, a Republican, a fucking communist scumbag, an anarchist, everyone gets to see who these people are. It's not being hidden anymore. Now, Judge Bo Asberg. Everyone remember that guy? He is still out there. He is still involved in politics in Washington. Isn't it amazing how these judges, to do a little callback on the last discussion, these little judges, they love being involved and taking a stand for what they believe. Do they not? Crazy business. Now, also, while we're talking about crazy business and Washington, D.C. ethics and doing what's right and taking a stand, Nancy 90-proof Pelosi is bitching about Trump using the National Guard to clean up Washington, D.C. Well, the former U.S. Capitol Police Chief reminded her that she blocked his request on January 6th. That's right, Nancy Pelosi, stopped Trump. Funny, she can't stop him this time. Surprised maggot Mike Johnson didn't call up from wherever the hell he's at. But Trump he's exercising a presidential authority that hasn't been used since the Civil War, folks. 1962. Over 150 years ago. Pretty crazy. And by the way, this former capital city police chief, he's a pile of shit if he was the chief of police during January 6th and he allowed his officers to get away with what they did. And if you remember correctly, several Washington, D.C. police, after the January 6th incident, committed suicide. Yeah, I'm not buying that. Just not buying it. They're going to push this mRNA shit on us, folks. I don't know how we're going to get past that. I really don't. I really don't. And to end the show, I'm going to let all of you go. There's been another mass shooting in Austin, Texas, at a Target store. Suspect is in custody. I wonder who would want to shoot up a Target. Would it be Christians? Because Target did have their homosexual, gay, child predatory clothing line. And also their satanic Baphomet clothing too. Do you think it was a Christian that is shooting up Target because they had that? Or do you think it's one of these transgender types, Satanists, who are mad that Target no longer keeps that stuff? Let's see if we can figure it out, huh? They're not going to tell us. Here it is. Austin Police Department update. Road closures. Who cares about that? They're not going to tell us. It's an active scene. They're not going to give us any facts. Yep. What they'll do is they'll find out who the shooter is. Right? Going to find out who the shooter is. Get their name. Go into social media. Erase everything in the name of public safety. Because we don't want to see how much the FBI has been talking to them, what drugs they're taking, and what level of Democrat belief system they had that caused them to do something that stupid. They've gotten better at it, haven't they? At clearing it all up. No further information at this time. It's not that they have no further information. It's that they refuse to share any further information. And I've had it with all levels of government. Tired of sharing the fruits of my hard work with them. Chance favors the prepared mind. You've seen the SHTF. Are you ready for it to get nasty? Well, I sure hope it doesn't get nasty, but we need to be ready nonetheless.